So I'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight for our Chatham Street Reconstruction Public Information Center. The purpose of the meeting tonight is to, describe where we are in the project. We are planning on reconstructing Chatham Street. It's going to be as of right now, it's a two-phase project, with the first phase starting in 2021, the second phase in 2022. Right now, we're at the 90% stage, or almost completing the design phase of the project. On my left here is Jeff Hamlin, our Manager of Capital Projects. I'm Brian Murray, Director of Public Works for the town of Penetanguishene. And we have our design consultant here from WMI and Associates, David Walter, who is the design firm that completed the design phase of the project. As I said, this is a public information center, so it's meant to inform the public about the scope of the project, what we're planning on achieving or doing as part of the project. It'll be a full reconstruction, so similar to what took place on the main street this past summer. It'll be a full underground servicing, removal and rehabilitation. So the sanitary sewer will be either removed or rehabilitated. The storm sewer will be removed and replaced with a new storm sewer. Curb and gutter will be placed through the entire length of Chatham Street with a new storm sewer. Curb and gutter sidewalks on the west side of the street, with on-street parking on the west side as well. So there'll be two full travel lanes with the on-street parking aisle on the west side, and a full sidewalk between Sheridan and Brock Street. So the intent of the project is an infrastructure renewal project. The road pavement structure will be replaced with a new pavement structure, reconstructed with new granulars, a new asphalt paved surface, and upgraded to a full urban design standard, similar to what you see on, for example, Jeffrey Street, Main Street, full curb and gutter style street. And it's going to be addressing a number of issues. As I'm sure you probably know, the pavement structure is well past its useful life. There's very poor drainage on Chatham Street, so we're hoping to address that as well. And also the water and sewer mains need to be rehabilitated as well as part of the project. So the purpose of tonight is to show you where we are at this stage in the project. We've put up a few boards showing the plan and profile drawings of the new design for the Chatham Street reconstruction. We're here as staff and the consultant to answer any questions you might have on the project. And I'll open up the floor to any questions you might have. And I'll just open up the floor. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. We've got Jeff here, who's been involved from day one on the project, and David Walter, who's been the project manager from WMI, answer any questions that you might have related to the project. So I'll open the floor. Yes?
Will any of the property owners lose any of their property for this construction?
No, there's no planned property acquisition, so we're going to be working within the right-of-way that the town currently has. Yeah.
Will there be an interruption in the water service at all for the people?
Depending on the location, and I guess I'll defer this question to David, was there any proposed temporary water mains associated with this project, or is it going to be able to remain in service as part of the removal process?
The original intent is to have service maintained throughout the project.
I'll get you that.
Without a temporary water distribution system. So if there are any disruptions in service, it would be very temporary, i.e., a morning or an afternoon or possibly a full day. But ideally, it would be, and it's going to be partly based on the contractor's construction methodology and his schedule, but the intent would be to have any disruption be very temporary.
Yes.
Parking on Chatham Street, is that for the residential only?
So the question was about the on-street parking on Chatham Street, whether it was for the property owners or businesses solely. So the on-street parking will be for the public at large, so it won't be allocated to any particular use, whether the property owners or the business owners. It'll be open to the general public to be able to park on within the confines of our bylaws. So anybody can park in the on-street parking on Chatham Street during the designated hours.
Are you going to have parking signs for that? Restricted parking signs, or are you going to maybe pick up a permit or something for people to park there? Because most of the people on Chatham, I believe, have got their own driveway, the residential people.
It's not something that we've planned on implementing as part of the project, but obviously, if there's I'd say a parking problem where the parking aisle is being overutilized, then we could implement parking restrictions, as you say, and try to control it that way. But as of right now, it's going to be open to the public at large, obviously subject to our winter parking restrictions and any other time limits.
So you're going to make her officer already parking that over there?
So
You mean that?
the on-street parking, you mean? Yes, it would be open to the public at large, so,
Open to the public
yes.
all day?
Yes, as in any other street in town that doesn't have parking restrictions on it already.
You can't look into the other places, so you're going to put it in the Chatham Street for the Main Street parking.
So in terms of one thing I was wondering is that.
Yeah.
Like, how many times so this is exactly for everyday use for people, but not everyday kind of people actually, we have people parking on the Chatham Street. It's not like we don't have enough parking space on Main Street and everyday life, but it's more for like if there's an event or something, or if there is some kind of special ceremonies or something, then the people start parking there anyway, yeah?
Like Winterland or something.
Yeah.
Right, right, I think I
At
under,
that time, you don't need the public parking. Everybody can parking over there, Winterama or Canada Day or those times. You don't need the public parking. Anybody can parking there, and everybody understand that.
Mhm.
But you trying to make the public parking lot over there to have the business over the Main Street. Are you sure that? You're trying to do that. That's not a secret.
So I guess what I'm saying is that there is no plans on restricting the parking on Chatham Street at this point. That's not to say that, if situations arise that we can't restrict them in the future or any other means like that, but as of right now, it would be meant as an open on-street parking, not designated to any particular group or business.
How do you control that when the homeowners on Chatham Street, okay, and neighbors close by, can actually see how many people are parking on these streets now for business purpose? And it's happening. And it's happening every single day. Okay?
Okay.
Not just Monday, well, it's mainly Monday to Friday.
Right.
But
So I guess if I understand the question is that in the area surrounding Chatham Street, Brock Street, for instance, the people are parking on the side of the road.
No, they're actually on and a lot of times what happens is the Chatham Street corner,
Mhm.
it's always have a cars parked throughout the whole day.
Right.
Except what she said is like Saturday and Sunday.
Mhm.
So, if you guys make a public parking, it's not gonna be the thing. It's not gonna be like a people who's gonna use it, like,
For the
recommended it,
community.
whatever, but it's more likely gonna be the same people who's gonna probably park there all the time.
Okay.
It's been happening throughout, and then I live right at the corner.
Mm-hmm.
So people actually park there all the time, almost like every single day.
Right.
And then I know that one of the homeowners across the street from us, and then I think that they're renting, so I don't know exactly who the owner is, but
Right.
I think that they talked to the person who's actually parking there too.
Mm-hmm.
So now they moved to some other places, but this thing is continuously happening. That's the reason I'm saying that if there is gonna be some kind of like public parking all the time, there is gonna be always occupied. So unless there is some kind of restriction or something that you can only park this time to this, whatever.
Right.
that It's gonna, then whenever we actually go in and out and whatever, and like, especially in the winter time, it becomes very hard. And there was a lot of like times there were the beer trucks and other people coming in and out,
Mm-hmm.
and delivery trucks coming from stores and all that. They have a hard time actually moving in and out of that corner.
Right.
So that's the concern that I'm having because of that. If you do make it so close to the corner, and you have all this parallel parking area, and people park, and it's gonna be kind of an issue because of like.
Yeah, no, I think I understand the concerns that are being raised, that there's concerns about the over usage of the on-street parking.
We're already having that problem right now.
Right.
So
And we do have means of restricting those through our traffic and parking bylaw, putting time limit parking, for example, parking restrictions. Those are things that we can do fairly easily through signage and implementing our amended bylaws to enforce those matters. So if it's becoming an issue, then obviously we can review that and implement any changes to the parking bylaw to allow us to control that if it is an issue down there, which is what we're hearing the issue is. So
And it's at the one end.
yeah,
I'm at the other end.
Yeah.
And I have no, my neighbor's park, because he's got
Right.
6 kids living at home, so he's got too many vehicles, whatever, and they're gonna use the on-street parking. It's not an issue at our end of the street, but I understand, and I know going in and out of their store sometimes with the business that's beside me, and people that are around, they're just parking wherever or in their store.
Yeah.
Parking lot and taking up their
Yep.
parking, which isn't fair to them. So I get their concern at that end of the street.
Mhm.
I don't think it's as, for the residential at the other end, it's not as big as, it makes sense to have it.
Right.
It's wide, so we can park, and have company come in and park.
Right.
That makes sense, but I get,
yeah,
And I
I'm just
understand
more
your
worried about the
concerns.
corners because it's so, right now it's already tight enough.
Right.
And even if it comes into our property and things widen it, if there is gonna be like a parking right on the corner, there's continuously the people parking there all the time because it's already doing it. So I know that there always gonna be a car parked all the time, so
Okay.
that's the one thing that I'm actually worrying about because of that. But you're saying that you can actually regulate that, but.
yeah. It would be through a bylaw amendment to our traffic and parking bylaw. If you know, obviously, if it's deemed to be required down there to control that traffic in that area, for congestion or just to control the parking in that area, we can definitely do that through our bylaws and enforce them as such. But if there are people parking, like for example, within 9 meters of the intersection, if there's people parking within 9 meters of the intersection, so the intersection of two property lines that's 9 meters on either side, that's prohibited in our bylaw. So if you do see people parking on the corners of intersections, that's actually prohibited in our parking bylaw, and they can actually be fined for that. So if you do see situations like that, I do recommend you contact our bylaw enforcement officer, and she would be able to address that, whether by ticketing or whatnot. So there is methods of controlling that right now. So if you do see situations where you think a car is parking so close to the intersection that it's actually creating sightline issues, then I would recommend that you report it to the bylaw enforcement officer. And the improvements on the road will definitely help that, because we're going to be creating bump outs so that that 9 meter area around the intersection that you can't park, we're going to actually do a bump out to actually physically delineate that, So that you cannot physically park there because there's going to be a curb there.
Okay, but that's not the issue right now.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're gonna make it wider, then you're gonna make a residential area coming to for looking for the town space, town property. So how many you're gonna come in over there for everybody's residential area? You have to go on their area. That's
Well, no, we'll,
You have to
if I understand the question correctly, I mean, we're only going to be working within our right-of-way. We're not going to be touching the private property, only to do physical servicing connections at the property line. So,
have a private property.
Mhm.
We have a private property, and we usually using for a little bit city, town's area,
right?
because that one, you're gonna take it off to make wide. So how many, we usually
Like,
use
basically,
it
how
like,
much of like a
Yeah.
space in between town property and our property? Is it
Yeah.
gonna be like zero property between, or?
Well, depending on which side your property is on Chatham, on Chatham Street. So there's going to be a sidewalk, and I think it's going to be just offset off the property line. So you're going to have your property line, and I think the sidewalk is offset, what, a foot or a meter?
Because like if they do actually put the sidewalk, we still have to put the fence.
Yeah,
because
more-
of the-
Yeah, so you'll definitely be able to put a fence there. Or if you have an existing fence there, hopefully it's on your property line.
Because, like, if there's not enough spaces on it, like, because of when they're actually removing snow and things on the sidewalk and whatever,
Mhm.
we still need like a little gap enough to actually put a fence and things where the snow to go, unless you guys are gonna continuously removing snow all the time, because right now in that corner is like a. big-
Yeah, yeah.
big
but most
snow.
of the residential people use town's property right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so
Looks
they're
like
clear
theirs,
of like a snow
because
and
of 30,
things
50
whenever.
years using like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought they're our property.
Yeah,
But you're gonna make a line, and you're gonna go up to our property, we think our property, that's not our property.
right. That's right.
Our property.
Yes.
I want to know how much gonna go in over there.
Like, you don't know.
You
exactly,
already
like,
done.
so it doesn't
Well,
look like-
I can definitely, I can't physically tell you how much we're going to say. I can show you on the drawings. And after we're done the Q&A session, we can break off and you can go to your location on the drawings, and I can show you, or we can show you exactly where the limit of construction is going to be, for sure.
So, if you said in my case,
Mhm.
you're gonna make a parking lot, and you're gonna come in more to me. Is that right?
Well, we're not going to be going outside of our right-of-way, so we're definitely going to be utilizing the town right-of-way to install curbs, gutters, sidewalks, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you're on the west side,
Like this amount, or like this amount?
and again, I can show you on the drawing. I can show you on the drawing.
You're gonna take the ditch out of the name, 'cause
Yes.
China's got a ditch
Yeah.
out.
Yes.
So-
That ditch is gonna be gone.
It's going to be gone, yeah.
And another one, in Chatham Street, there is it looks like water hose or drain in there.
Yeah, that's
Pouring
the
there.
ditch.
You're gonna-
Yeah, the open ditch system right now, I think there's actually a little bit of storm sewer on Chatham and a little bit of ditch, is all going to be removed and replaced by an underground storm sewer.
How is it gonna affect Brock Street, your grading of Chatham Street? Because it sounds like your plans, you're gonna make a nice place there. But the grading, is that gonna affect Brock Street in any way?
No,
If
it,
I'm at the end of Brock and Chatham?
no, any water you're getting now or not getting now is not going to change after the project. If anything, you're going to get less, because you're going to have storm sewers on Chatham Street that are going to be effectively intercepting a lot of the overland drainage that you're probably getting now and putting it underground into a new storm sewer. So you're probably going to get less drainage than you're getting now. We're going to have to tie into Chatham Street because that's an existing elevation that we have to tie into with the new road. And at some point in the not-too-distant future, when we go to resurface Brock Street, we will obviously be working with the new Chatham Street grades to make sure that the drainage on Brock Street is also adequately addressed as well. Sure.
Your plan for Chatham, you've already got everything in motion here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if someone's gonna build, again, at the end of Brock, where are they gonna be taking your measurements from? Are they gonna take it from this, the new Chatham, on how high Chatham's gonna be? Or do they take the existing where it is now?
Yeah, again, we'll be matching to existing what's on Brock Street. So the existing elevations on Brock Street will not be changing all that much. And if I'm not overstepping so we'll be matching to existing there. We have to do some servicing connections at Brock Street. The sanitary, the storm, and the water main have connections, so we have to connect to existing mains on Brock Street. So there's going to be some repaving done on Brock Street and some restoration required, but it'll all be brought back to existing conditions or better.
So now you're drawing everything over there just like that?
Mm-hmm.
Is it passed or you decided already or?
No, this is exactly why we're having the meeting, so that we have this dialogue back and forth with residents and business owners. So if there's an issue that you think that we need to address, you've mentioned the parking, which is not so much an engineering-related question, it's more of an enforcement-related question, which is, I think, it could be definitely looked at. We'll want to address any issues before construction, which is why we have these meetings, to get your feedback and comments so that we can implement any changes necessary in the final tender package.
I have one more question.
Sure.
I don't understand, you're putting all this money in here, and to me it looks like it's gonna be nice. You're doing all that, a lot of money in there, like, and if you're making parking, I don't understand why you don't try to get, make a perfect parking or a park.
Again, I mean, this,
Residents
yeah.
have their own laneway. and
Yeah,
have
no,
their parking.
I understand, and we're basically the cross section that we've selected, which is an urban cross section. It incorporates, our standards incorporate a parking aisle. So any urban section, be it Jeffrey Street, Mariah Street, all comes with an on-street parking aisle as part of our engineering design standards. So any new subdivision has the same design standard as well. So we're, by upgrading Chatham Street from its kind of rural cross-section right now, we're actually upgrading it to a fully urbanized cross-section with a proper storm sewer to our design standards, and those design standards include an on-street parking aisle.
And I want to ask one more.
Sure.
You said by now you can parking in the street, the Brock Street like that. Their customer, no patient, usually interrupting my business
Mm-hmm.
because they don't have patients parking. I think patient and the doctor has to respect it and protect it. But they don't make the parking over there. I don't understand. Is it the law has to correctly conducted in there or not? Because we have to protect the patients. Some of them are barely close to the delivery day, and they sometimes hold the baby's hand. And I think that's not correctly conducted in life. So I think they have to make a parking lot.
No, yeah,
Somehow.
I think what she's trying to say is that because of a lot of people who do it in the doctor's office, basically parking all on the Chatham Street
Right.
and all on the Block Street.
Right.
And then most of the people who work in the doctor's office literally actually park all along the Chatham Street, and then people complain.
Right.
Then they park on the Block Street, which is in her lot.
Right.
So that's what we're saying, that if you guys actually make the corner parking there, that's gonna be occupied all the
Yeah, and I think I think that's been discussed pretty well tonight. I mean, it sounds like it's a fairly busy area in terms of parking, you know, with the doctor's office, which is great to have a doctor's office there. But there sounds like a lot of people are using the parking, which is great, but
It's
it's,
very dangerous
yeah.
because of the patients has
They
to have
park in the
their
actual
own parking.
Broad Street.
But if they're, I don't know how they make like that, and if something happens, because I talk in this one,
Mhm.
because they always interrupting my
Right,
business area.
right.
They parking everywhere in my, the.
Yep. So what I can do is, it's something that we can maybe, I can discuss with you. I can have a meeting with you with the bylaw enforcement officer, and we can go out to the location. And it sounds like it could be resolved through bylaw enforcement in that area, some focused enforcement in that area. And if it's something that we can make better with this design, then we're definitely open to those comments. So, but it sounds like what I'll do is, if you have some time, either later this week, I can have Jillian come down, and you can go out and show us what's happening.
I always think about why they make the clinic open just like that. No secure parking lot, the Macon, the whole town makes it just like that. If somebody has a big trouble or danger in life or hit the car, and who has to pay for that?
Because they don't have any parking
Maybe
there.
town.
Yeah,
Town.
I understand that, yeah.
Our taxman has to pay for it because the town didn't correctly conduct it by law.
Yeah, and again, the doctor's office and the use of that building as a doctor's office is more of a planning question, so I'd be able to direct you to the appropriate person for that question. But in terms of the on-street parking and their use, that's something that we can talk to you about with the bylaw enforcement officer, and I'd be happy to come down there with you and with Jillian to see what we can do to make things better there. Yep.
What about for the disabled people? What about girls that can't hear, can't see, and can't speak? And, she's disabled, but we have a lot of disabled people in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Can we have signs put up for them?
Absolutely. For
So like I have them in my house.
yeah.
So can that's why my concern is here. Is that possible to make, because of the parking?
Right.
It's gonna be a lot of commercial parking. Okay, that's how we feel.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's commercial parking, they're not gonna be aware of the disabled people in the area. So how do we protect them?
And the installation of signage to that effect would definitely be a good start, and that's something that we could definitely look at doing for sure. I've seen those signs in other municipalities, and if that's something that's a concern for you, we can definitely look at installing some signs there, for sure. Go ahead.
I'm at the other end. So, did you say it's, the sidewalk stops at Sheridan?
That's right.
Continue down to that?
Right now, it makes a corner and connects with the existing sidewalk on Sheridan. Yeah. Yep.
I guess my are you redoing from Sheridan down to that too, or no?
There's no servicing connections down that way. I will probably extend the resurfacing of Chatham Street all the way down to Beck, but there's no servicing going down to Beck. We have them terminating at Sheridan Street, but I did notice that myself, and that's something that we could definitely look at extending it down to Beck. Yeah.
I'm okay with getting the ditches. I'd take the sidewalk on my side, you're getting rid of the ditches. So
Yeah.
I would've cut 'em.
Yeah, no, that's kind of, again, why we have these conversations, and,
I'm right at the end.
yeah.
On the last corner, and I have a ditch, a moat around my yard,
mhm.
and it fills, it's full now, and I'm okay with losing it.
Yeah.
I would take a sidewalk in a heartbeat in front of my house, beside my house.
And I guess what that's a great comment, and if you don't mind just adding it to the comments section, to the, we'll make a note of it for sure, but if you don't mind just adding the note there, because that's, again, that's great feedback, so.
Yeah, and it finishes the street, right?
Yeah.
The curb's end that my neighbors from Sheridan.
Yeah.
It looks great, but when all the water runoff comes, it comes in my ditch through my driveway, which is whatever, it goes down and it's gone. But
Right.
I'm done, I'm about done with it. I get rid of them, move into like.
And
medians,
sidewalk,
I'm good.
yeah, because our corner have a big huge ditch too, and the water all comes in.
Again, yeah, and it, yeah,
That's gone now.
Yeah.
My place is the very end of the big hills down very end. So I think they make that's why water goes.
right.
But if you don't take care of just like, not just like that, or something instead of them make not like that, we have a flood disaster.
Because that corner gets water a lot.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of drainage, it's a very flat street, so it has a lot of drainage issues, so that we're trying to resolve by putting in this storm sewer.
Yeah, because the first time road designer, why he makes it, or he or she makes it just like a drawing like that? Some kind of reason they need it, they made it like that, you're gonna cover up, and then what's gonna go?
So underground.
Goes under that. All gone.
Yep.
So, yeah. But another thing is that they have a power, and I think it's the bell lines and other things, all those, and it is, when I'm looking at it, and it's coming in, so what are they gonna do with all
They,
the lines and all that?
that's not.
There is going to be some utility relocations, so the relocation of some poles, whether there be, is there bell poles being relocated as part of this, or is it just hydro?
There are a couple of just hydro.
Okay, hydro poles. And bell boxes, I believe in some locations to, I think, and I think the sidewalk is going to be, or has been moved to kind of avoid some of those conflicts. But there is going to be some pole relocations because in certain instances, the pole would be in the intersection. We don't want that, so we have to get the poles moved back. And that'll all be done prior to the actual reconstruction project being completed. So those, and I believe,
Connected to one of the poles.
yeah, you would have an overhead service line, so that would be relocated as well with the pole. So you might be without a service while that's relocated, but again, that would be a very temporary shut-off. I'd have to go over to the drawings there to be certain. Dave, do you know off the top of your head?
On the southwest corner?
No, east. I'm on the east corner.
The sidewalks are going on
The
Beers
sidewalks
side,
are
right?
going-
That's correct, yeah.
So I can show you where I am here. This one here, almost here.
Were there any other questions at all?
So you're gonna make all, done without, we don't know. We don't even know or done. You're gonna do that like that?
So, until you guys, like, before you guys finalize it,
Mhm.
you guys gonna actually let us know again, like, what's, if anything's changing or anything, or?
That's correct. So we'll take all of the comments that we get tonight from you, and you know, obviously, it's open, we'll be willing to accept comments at any time. And the process is, we'll finalize we'll take the comments, and we'll make our revisions as necessary. And we usually have a pre-construction meeting as well. So before we should actually start the construction project, we'll meet again with the residents and the public, like we're doing tonight. And it'll be WMI, Jeff and I, and our contractor, whoever that may be. and so that you can meet them and that we can address any other comments or questions that we didn't get from the last time, but you want to have addressed this time. And I think we get into more of the details like garbage collection, how that's going to work during construction. Are you planning on doing any improvements on your side of the property line that we should be aware of so that we can properly coordinate our work, whether you're repaving your driveway or you're replacing your water service into your house? Those are things that we'd like to know ahead of time, or if you want to upsize or increase the diameter of your water or sanitary service for whatever reason. That's good things to know so that we can actually make those changes prior to actually being on site. And we do get the odd one where a resident wants to take their service right into the building. That's not to say the contractor will be able to do that, but it's good to know that ahead of time. Any other questions?
My concern is just on drainage, because we do have a lot of problems down there. Bottom of it,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't matter what street you have, because you've got the main fill up there, it all
Right.
comes down.
Yep.
So there is a lot of water problem down there, I'm just hoping it's not gonna be more.
No, I really feel that once the storm sewer is installed on Chatham Street, it'll eliminate a lot of that water coming off of Chatham Street. Not to say that there will be none coming off of Chatham Street, but it'll be significantly less because it'll all be going underground to the storm sewer, or the majority of it.
On behalf of her, because we're right,
Right.
and the block and Chatham Street, empty lot is the doctor's office basically what it's like a scale.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Always
mild
water.
water there. So
Yeah.
is that somehow gonna solve the problem with it? And that water and it's just that in that area gets pretty bad.
Right.
Well, they're building a triplex, there's a triplex being built there, so.
Okay. Like.
And are they gonna be measuring from off of Chatham Street or off of Brook? You did tell me that they're gonna be using the existing.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so we're going to be doing sewer connections at that intersection. So if there's anything that we can do to improve the drainage at that intersection, is particularly on your side of that, we'll do that to improve things. But again, the majority of the construction will be on Chatham Street. So we have to kind of draw a line in the sand at some point, but we'll definitely do what we can to improve drainage when we're there. You're welcome. Any other questions or comments? Well, thanks everyone for coming out tonight. I know we had a lot of good comments and discussion. Again, if you haven't done so already, if you could sign in on the sheet, add any comments that you feel are you want us to hear and take back, by all means, add them to the sheet. We'll be taking our own notes, but it's always good to get those comments as well. So we'll be staying behind here, and if you want to talk to us one-on-one, by all means, and we can kind of show you exactly where your property is on the drawings and show you what's going to happen in front of your property on Chatham Street when the construction actually happens. And thanks for coming out tonight. Sorry, go ahead.